the most recent sample that we have from 12,000 years ago.
Mm.
So we need samples, but at the moment, what data is showing is that the demographic trajectory of the Columbian mammoths in the basin of Mexico could have been stable and not affected by climate. And if that is true, if that is confirmed, then what it means is that the Columbian mammoths in Mexico were not extinct because of climate change, but because humans overhunted them.
That's the natural logic of that conclusion. If you're saying, and the idea that climate change is amplified at the poles, the higher latitudes, is well understood in paleoclimate studies. That poles, when climate change does happen, when the Pleistocene transitions to the Holocene, the biggest changes happen at the high latitudes, at the high elevations, high mountains. They're the ones that see the biggest changes. The equatorial areas with low seasonality don't see those amplified changes. They might see a little bit of a change, but not much. And like you're saying, that makes sense. And when you look at your curves, I'll put the figures up. They're kind of flat up until like 13,000 years ago. But then the woolly mammoth, you see the decline because they have that younger age. And it's like there's less variance, like you said, but it's kind of flat. Right to that 13,000 years. And that is when the Younger Dryas happens, which is a big climate event. And there's a lot of debate on whether or not did that influence the megafauna extinction. If you're in Mexico, in this area of Mexico, the Younger Dryas, maybe in theory, would it have a big effect on the climate in that area? I don't know. I don't know the reconstruction. I would have to lean towards it probably did not, because it's near a tropical area, and we know that in its low elevation, relatively speaking. So it shouldn't have been a big change. Is there evidence then that humans suddenly show up in Mexico 13,000 years ago? Is this like the very first evidence for Clovis? We have humans earlier, I believe, in Idaho. It's dated to like 16,000 years ago, at least at this point. I think those are not even controversial dates. So humans are in North America and presumably Mexico that early, but 13,000 years ago, right at the boundary of the Younger Dryas, we see them go extinct. And there's, and I don't think climate would have anything to do with it. So humans think they made the extinction?
Maybe, unless we find that there are more recent Columbian mammoths. Who knows? Maybe we'll find a sample that is dated to the Holocene. And if that's the case, then the picture would change because, well, we know that for certain that at some point they got extinct, right? Otherwise, we'll be sampling Columbian mammoths, in a zoo or something. But we know that went extinct and they might have been overhunted. We just don't know when that happened, whether that was at the beginning or whether that happened in the Holocene. We know that there's human presence in Mexico, starting like more stable human presence in Mexico happened around 11,000 years ago. There are a lot of sites. There's also these early, I think nowadays they're not so controversial because there's actually quite recent findings that people were present in the Americas earlier than thought, earlier than Clovis. So there's this archaeological site in Zacatecas, in Mexico, in the Cueva de Chiquihuite, that suggests that humans were in the Americas at least 25,000 years ago. And I have the impression that there's also early human presence in I don't know whether it's that Arizona or New Mexico.
The White Sands, New Mexico.
Exactly.
I've covered that on this channel a few times.
Thank you. Right? So
they're putting 21 to 23,000 years ago for those dates.
Exactly, right? So maybe there were humans already here before, the ice corridor opened in Northern America, but maybe there were not as many as afterwards. So when Clovis entered with this new lithic technology, maybe a lot of humans came, and then that's when the massive extinctions might have happened. But we need more radiocarbon dates, and we need more information from other megafauna samples to confirm when this possible massive extermination of megafauna happened. And also we need, we need better paleoclimatic reconstructions from the basin of Mexico. There is some information that points towards that the lake started to dry up,
Mm.
but the more information we have, the better.